Welcome to Crimes. This channel is dedicated to real criminal cases, carefully examined through facts, evidence, and investigative detail. Here, we focus on what is known, what was proven, and how the truth was uncovered without rumors, exaggeration, or fiction. Every story on crimes is presented with respect for the victims, attention to forensic detail, and a commitment to accuracy. We explore how crimes unfold, how investigators follow the evidence, and how justice is pursued through science and law. If you're interested in true crime told with clarity, responsibility, and depth, you're in the right place. Our story today takes us to Egypt, the land of pharaohs and pyramids. In rural Egypt's Nile Delta, life follows familiar patterns. Families live close to one another, traditions are deeply rooted, and personal conflicts rarely remain private for long. In one small village in the Belkis district of Dakalia Governorate, those patterns were violently broken when a father was lured from his home and never returned. The victim was Ashraf Seed Abdul Hamid, a middle-aged electronics repair technician known in his community for his trade and for living a quiet, routine life. He was the father of a teenage girl, Menna, who was still a minor at the time of the crime. Ashraf had been married more than once. His marriage to Menna's mother had ended years earlier, and later relationships were marked by domestic tension. Public records and court documents do not name the wife or detail the precise reasons for divorce, but investigators confirmed that Ashraf was living with his daughter and acting as her primary guardian. According to the investigation, Ashraf was a strict parent. He controlled his daughter's movements, monitored her phone, and rejected decisions he believed would harm her future. That authority became the central source of conflict in this case. Menna had entered into a relationship with a young man from the same village, Mohammed A.M., a tuk-tuk driver several years older than her. The relationship was not legally permissible. Menna was under the legal age for marriage, and Ashraf firmly refused to approve any engagement or union. Investigators later determined that the refusal was not temporary or negotiable. What began as a secret relationship escalated into something far more dangerous. Digital forensic analysis later revealed that Menna and Mohammed exchanged extensive messages discussing Ashraf, their inability to be together, and their belief that his presence was the sole obstacle standing in their way. Over time, the conversations moved from complaint to planning. Authorities would later describe this as a gradual progression toward intent. On the night of the crime, Ashraf received a phone call from Mohammed. The story was simple and convincing. Mohammed claimed his tuk-tuk had broken down near an irrigation canal on the edge of the village and asked Ashraf for help repairing it. As an electronics technician known for assisting others, Ashraf agreed. He left his home on foot. Investigators believe Ashraf did not suspect danger. There was no evidence of a struggle at his home, and no signs that he armed himself or alerted anyone before leaving. At the canal, the situation unfolded rapidly. According to Mohammed's later confession, he attacked Ashraf using a bladed weapon. The assault involved multiple stab wounds, including a fatal wound to the neck. The force and placement of the injuries indicated clear intent to kill rather than incapacitate. After the attack, Ashraf's body was wrapped in a household sheet. His hands and feet were bound. The body was then placed in the canal, partially submerged in water. The location was secluded but familiar to locals, a place where the body might not be discovered immediately. Phone records later confirmed that Menna was in contact with Mohammed immediately before and after the murder. Investigators recovered messages in which she asked what had happened and received confirmation that the killing had been carried out. The next day, residents noticed Ashraf's absence. When his body was discovered in the canal, local police were notified immediately. Officers secured the scene and began a full homicide investigation. The condition of the body suggested premeditation. Binding materials, the wrapping, and the disposal method all pointed to planning rather than a spontaneous act of violence. During the autopsy, forensic pathologists documented multiple stab wounds consistent with a single-edged blade. The cause of death was determined to be hemorrhagic shock resulting from sharp force injuries. There were no defensive wounds suggesting a prolonged fight. Investigators shifted their focus to Ashraf's last known movements. Phone data placed him near the canal shortly before his death. Call logs showed contact with Mohammed minutes before Ashraf left his home. When questioned, Menna's behavior raised suspicions. Her statements conflicted with digital evidence, and investigators obtained legal authorization to examine her phone. What they found became the cornerstone of the case. Messages between Menna and Mohammed detailed planning, coordination, and confirmation after the crime. Investigators also recovered evidence that Menna had supplied items used in the murder, including the sheet used to wrap the body. Both suspects were taken into custody. During interrogation, Mohammed confessed to carrying out the stabbing. He stated that the motive was to remove Ashraf so that he and Menna could be together without opposition. Menna admitted her role in facilitating the crime, but did not physically participate in the killing. Investigators also discovered that money had been taken from Ashraf after his death. The theft added another criminal dimension to the case and further supported the charge of premeditated murder. Because Menna was a minor, her case followed Egypt's juvenile justice procedures. Mohammed, being an adult, faced full criminal prosecution for murder and theft. The case quickly gained national attention. Public reaction was intense, not only because of the brutality of the crime, but because of the relationship between victim and accomplice. Commentators debated parental authority, early relationships, and the psychological factors that could lead a child to participate in the murder of a parent. From a forensic perspective, the case was resolved through digital evidence rather than eyewitness testimony. Phone records, messaging apps, location data, and confession alignment created a clear timeline that could not be refuted. For investigators, this case demonstrated how modern homicide investigations increasingly depend on technology to reveal intent, coordination, and motive. Without the digital trail, the crime might have remained unsolved or misclassified. For the village, the consequences were permanent. A father was killed by someone he trusted. A daughter's future was irreversibly altered, and a crime born from secrecy and defiance ended in irreversible loss. In the end, the evidence told a story that emotion could not erase. This was not an accident. It was not a moment of rage. It was a calculated decision, carried out step by step and exposed through forensic science. In criminal investigations, the truth often hides in quiet places: a phone message, a location ping, a missing hour in a timeline. In this case, those details spoke louder than any confession, and they ensured that the truth, however disturbing, could not remain buried. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being part of Crimes.